At 2 a.m., when the world was drowning in silence and shadows, the phone of a tired single father rang with the kind of urgency that only brings bad news. But for Marcus Hale, who had spent the last 10 years surviving on instinct, hardship, and love for his little daughter, bad news was nothing new. He answered the call with a gravelly voice, expecting another emergency from the construction site where he worked night shifts. Instead, he heard a panicked nurse saying a name he didn't recognize. They told him someone had listed him as an emergency contact. Someone was asking for him. Someone was scared and alone. Marcus could have hung up. He could have said it was a mistake. But instead, guided by something he didn't quite understand, he grabbed his keys, kissed his sleeping daughter on the forehead, and stepped into the cold, uncertain night. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected connections, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. The hospital smelled of antiseptic, fear, and fragile hope. Marcus walked through the dim hallway, still confused, unsure why he was even here. His boots echoed against the tile floors, and the fluorescent lights flickered above him like nervous breaths. When he reached the room number the nurse gave him, he hesitated with his hand on the door. He almost turned back, but a soft, trembling whimper from inside stopped him. He pushed the door open. Lying in the bed, pale against the white sheets, was a woman around 30, her auburn hair scattered across the pillow like fallen flames. She wore a silk nightgown, but her eyes, wide, frightened, and searching, were what caught him. She whispered the name Marcus, not with certainty but with desperate hope. He stepped closer, explaining that there must have been a mistake, but she clutched the blanket and blinked away tears, saying she didn't want to be alone, and somehow, without needing to understand, why Marcus stayed. Her name was Charlotte Reeves, heiress of the massive Reeves estate that everyone in the city of Denver, Colorado knew about. She was wealthy, sophisticated, and carried the kind of poise Marcus had only seen in magazines at dentist offices. But now, she was fragile, trembling after collapsing from exhaustion and stress at a charity event. She told him she didn't know who to call. Her family was scattered, living their own lives in other states. Her friends were social butterflies, not the kind of people you call at 2 a.m. when your world is falling apart. In her panic, she pressed the wrong number. She dialed Marcus, someone she'd never met, someone whose number somehow got mixed into her phone after a renovation project her company funded near his workplace. Marcus could have laughed at the absurdity, but as he looked at her, this woman who had spent her life surrounded by luxury yet felt utterly alone, something softened in him. He talked to her gently, comforting her through the lingering dizziness, adjusting her blankets, even checking the bag like he knew what he was doing. He didn't. But kindness doesn't need training, it only needs intention. Charlotte calmed, slowly, watching him with a mixture of confusion and gratitude. She said he reminded her of someone she once trusted, someone who believed in doing the right thing even when the world didn't reward it. And Marcus, who had been broken and rebuilt too many times, found himself sitting beside her, telling her about his daughter Mara, a 10-year-old girl who was the center of his universe. He described how she drew pictures of dragonflies, how she wanted to be an astronaut, and how he worked night shifts and day shifts, any shift he could, just to keep her safe. Charlotte listened, not with pity, but with genuine warmth. It was something Marcus hadn't felt from another adult in years. Over the next few days, Charlotte's condition improved, but she asked Marcus to return just for a little. Just until she felt steady again. Marcus, hesitant and overwhelmed, agreed because he didn't know how to refuse someone who looked at him with that kind of fragile trust. Mara came along sometimes, shy at first, hiding behind Marcus's leg. But Charlotte had a natural gentleness with children, surprising even herself. She brought Mara a small plush rabbit on her first visit, and the little girl's smile lit up the sterile hospital room. When Charlotte was discharged, she invited Marcus and Mara to her estate, only if it's not a burden, she said. But Marcus knew burdens. This woman was not one of them. The estate was breathtaking. Golden chandeliers, thick marble floors, gardens that looked painted instead of grown. The contrast between their worlds was almost painful. Marcus felt out of place, like his worn-out boots might scratch the perfection of her floors, but Charlotte made sure he didn't feel judged. She never once looked down on him. Instead, she made room for him in her world, just as he had made room for her fears at 2 a.m. Days turned into weeks. Marcus helped her around the estate, fixing shelves, tightening loose hinges, repairing outdoor lights. His hands, used to hard labor, brought a quiet kind of comfort to Charlotte's life, and Charlotte, in return, brought softness into his. She opened doors he thought had been closed forever, the door to being cared for, the door to being seen, the door to believing that unexpected goodness could still happen. Mara flourished too. Charlotte encouraged her drawings, framed them, and displayed them like treasures. She helped her with school assignments, and even set up a small telescope on the balcony after learning about the little girl's dream of exploring space. Mara called it her star corner, and every evening Charlotte joined her there with hot chocolate and patient curiosity. Despite the warmth blooming between them, Marcus struggled internally. He knew Charlotte came from a world of privilege, something he could never offer. He feared he would embarrass her, or worse, disappoint her. There were nights when he lay awake in his small apartment, staring at the cracked ceiling, telling himself that he had no place in her life. That sooner or later, she'd realize he didn't belong. Charlotte sensed his hesitation long before he said a word. She saw the way he pulled back whenever their lives felt too intertwined. One evening, after a long day of laughter in the garden, she asked him to stay for dinner. But Marcus made an excuse and tried to leave. Charlotte followed him to the driveway, her silk dress fluttering in the breeze like a quiet plea. She told him he didn't have to earn his worth. She told him kindness was a form of wealth, too. And she told him that he had given her something money never could, peace. Marcus's throat tightened. No one had ever said anything like that to him. Still, he walked away that night. But fate has a way of circling back. 3 days later, Charlotte fainted again, this time not from exhaustion, but from a panic attack triggered by a vicious argument with her estranged brother over the family fortune. The first number she dialed wasn't her doctor, it wasn't her lawyer, it was Marcus. He arrived within minutes, Mara in the back seat still in her pajamas. Marcus carried Charlotte to the couch, held her trembling hands, talked her through every breath until her heartbeat steadied. Mara sat beside her afterward, placing the plush rabbit on her lap like a gift of comfort. And something shifted that night, something fragile but unbreakable. Charlotte finally confessed what she had been trying to say for weeks, that she didn't want Marcus to walk away, that she didn't want Mara to feel like a visitor, that she was tired of empty rooms, tired of cold halls, tired of being surrounded by everything except love. She told him she wanted him in her life, not as a favor, not as an obligation, but as a choice, a real one. Marcus stood still, struggling to breathe. He had built walls high enough to survive a decade of pain, but Charlotte's words tore them down like paper. She asked him to stay, not for the night, not for the moment, forever. He broke, not from weakness, but from the overwhelming relief of being wanted. He pulled Charlotte into his arms, holding her with a tenderness he didn't know he possessed. Mara hugged both of them, her little arms wrapping around them like a ribbon, pulling their broken pieces together. From that night on, the Reeves estate was no longer just Charlotte's. It became a home, messy sometimes, full of laughter, full of small shoes in the hallways, full of dinners that tasted better when eaten together. Marcus fixed what was broken in the house, and Charlotte fixed what was broken in his heart, and Mara, bright-eyed and open-hearted, became the bridge that connected their worlds. Nothing about their journey was easy. They had different backgrounds, different scars, different fears. But love, when built on kindness, understanding, and second chances, doesn't need perfect beginnings. It only needs brave hearts willing to show up, even if the call was a mistake. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in hope, and don't forget to subscribe for more emotional stories. Your support truly means the world. Before the ending, tell me in the comments, do you believe that the right people can enter our lives by accident? And so, the wrong call at 2 a.m. became the start of everything Marcus never knew he deserved, everything Charlotte never knew she needed, and everything Mara always dreamed love could be. In the end, it wasn't a mistake at all. It was destiny, dialed one digit off, arriving right on time.